That guy is pissed. He's so veiny. He's so veiny. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. It's Sunday night, and of course that means viewer game breakdown night. There's another whole lot of games ready to go. People are excited about them showing up on stream and ultimately on YouTube. We're going to dive right in. Quick aside, everybody, before we get into the actual content, I was accepted into the Phobies Content Affiliate Program, the content creator program, you might call it. Shout out to the Phobies team, and thank you for that. But the reason I'm telling you, everybody out there, dear viewer, dear listener, is to let everybody know that I do receive some compensation from the Phobies team as a result of being part of that program. Now, I loved Phobies before, and I still love Phobies now, and I expect I will still continue to love Phobies in the future. So look forward to more Phobies content coming from Random's Thoughts. So now, on with the show. So we're having a brief pause at the beginning of this game. Why? Because there is a unique rule set for this game submitted by DarkSoul1, our hero here. This game was done with a special rule. There was a phobie max of 2. This means we cannot have more than 2 phobies on the board each at any given moment. So let's see how our hero does here. 34 turn game on Billy's room. And we're getting some early banks here. Given the odd rule set, this is not really surprising. That either player is not really going to want to commit to, oh, I'll put a 1 key out because I want to get an early advantage, but that locks you out of quite literally half your forces. Now, in this case, we're getting Fetch and Quagmire, which is pretty interesting. Whereas Bad Guy is banked to 12. Let's see what they slam on the board here. They're actually going to bank to 15. And that is a Fetch on the stim. That's a 900 damage Fetch. And a slight panic point advantage. It is interesting seeing people come up with unique and, we'll call it odd, but, you know, just different rule sets to play Phobies. It is cool. I mean, we've been talking about Tiny Terrors a lot, which is kind of in the same vein. It's a different angle on playing Phobies, so we'll see. We'll see if stuff like this catches on. I know there's a lot of players out there that like playing these oddball rule sets or having extra stipulations on their games to add another layer of variety, which is pretty cool to see. I mean, even chess, which has been basically the same game for a very, very long time, does allow for, not necessarily allow for, but does have the opportunity for other variations in the gameplay loop. So we're getting the Fetch boop here. The Quagmire is retreating, I guess, to not get powered down by this Boo Fairy. Overall, 11 keys remaining to 15 from our hero. So this is, like, this entire game is going to be really weird. And I don't know how much commentary I have as compared to just simply, let's see what they do. I don't quite get the Boo Fairy. I mean, I kind of do. I could see it power down being relevant, like pretty relevant with this particular rule set. But we do actually see the Fetch take down the Hevo thanks to the splitting of the forces and Bad Guy having, or trying to go after both the Fetch and Quagmire simultaneously. But ultimately, the Fetch pays for its sins. Now, what's interesting here is that Bad Guy chose to bank the 11 keys. And we're getting a Fish Tank follow-up. A lot of melee phobies out of our hero here. Panic point advantage once again goes orange. And we get a Dozer. Nice. Now, Dozer... Okay, so Dozer's a weird thing given this rule stipulation that you can only have 2 phobies. The reason for that is, although it's a small map and there are positions here where you can cover a significant portion of the map with Dozer, A, the path it took out of the spawn kind of puts it out of play for a while. And additionally, the Dozer's just slow, so the more mobile team, it's not uncommon to need help to supplement Dozer so that way you can, you know, occupy the other spaces that either Dozer is freeing up because it's bullying your opponent out, or to corral your opponent's forces. In this case, we do ultimately get a Boo Fairy powering down the Fish Tank here, and we're getting Dozer into position. Dozer is now ready to go to cover basically all the panic points. But Bad Guy is down to under half heart health after all is said and done at this point. Panic point advantage, once again, is going blue. Triple panic point advantage, in fact. But giving the position here by Dark Soul, it's actually a little bit odd because you're unable... Okay, you can eliminate the boof area. I was going to say you're unable to actually get good surface area onto the Dozer because everything was tucked into the corner. And Dozer's going to get the opportunity to just lay into this quagmire. And interestingly enough, the final phobia out of bad guy is Thunder Rocks. I don't hate it simply because of the fish tank, but at the end of the day, our hero has a massive life lead, a very slow phobie, as well as a lot of threats on the enemy heart. And oh, by the way, 8 keys left. There's a lot of things going in favor of our hero, not a whole lot going in favor of bad guy on the blue team. And I think we're going to see this one get taken down in short order. That Dozer isn't doing a lot. What level is it? This Dozer is level 1. All of the phobies are actually set to level 1, which I should have called out earlier. That was not in the notes. But these are, in fact, all level 1 phobies. So, scaling-wise, it's still doing a ton of damage, but it just, whole number-wise doesn't come across that way. Honestly, I would have said just go for the heart. I don't think you really needed to kill this thing. This actually... I mean, Panic Point Advantage Blue and a juiced-up Dozer... This could get scary. Our hero, of course, is already pot committed to doing this. There's no way they can get back to Dozer in time, let alone eliminate it. Or was this actually just calculated all along? 375 health. We've had some close games as of late. Even the Hakune one we looked at yesterday. But this one was pretty close, and with a unique rule set. So, well done. Well played there, Dark Soul. Alright, our hero here is Urkevina, zoning into Opticon. The notes are simply, I came from behind on a very long game on Opticon. 57 turns. I'd be curious if somebody was keeping track. I promise there's nobody keeping track of this. But I feel like Urk is in the lead for highest quantity of long games submitted, or overall highest average of turns in games submitted. So we'll have to see. Opticon hasn't been in the pool for a little bit, but we were talking about Opticon in the context of other pillar-based maps. There's a better way to describe this that I thought of the other day, but I'm very tired and my brain's not working right now. Basically, these maps, it's Opticon, it's Vile Vortis, it's the Big House. Each of these maps have this kind of layout where you have all of these columns, these pillars that are dotting the landscape and then allowing for, say, terraform shenanigans. Or just lobber advantage, we'll say. But in this case, we're getting what seems to be a much more standard as in what you'd see on other maps. We're getting stabbies, we're getting unicorns, we're getting cassowaries, we're getting one keys, snowballs, ginsting. Now, a lot of this fits on this map. It really isn't problematic. The thing I'm more curious about is actually the stabby. The stabby is somewhat abnormal to me, including the bow mangles. Like, these are not commonly appearing phobies on Opticon, at least not in my experience. But I believe Urk has something particular in mind. They banked all the way up to 9. It does allow for some stabilization. These phobies are still turrets. They're tanky. They can represent a threat. You can position them wherever you need to and then say, all right, try and dislodge me. But our hero is down 4-2 panic points here, so this is going to be interesting. I'm curious, given the 57 turns, I have to imagine that we're probably not going to see things start flipping into hero's favor until around turn 40 or so. So we have a little bit of time. Now, as mentioned, this is a terraformer's paradise. So, of course, we get Crushmore showing up here. I'm a big fan of Crushmore on this map. It's inherently a lobber. It's a threat as far as just damage output, not just from the lob, but in general. And of course, Terraform opens up opportunities by breaking blocks or removes opportunities from your opponent by segmenting the field. Now, in this case, there is actually a Klepto making life a little more complex. So, I take it that Urk did not want to roll here and block here, which is probably what I would have done. That would have led to ultimately a single hit, essentially, from Klepto, because it's 50% splash, onto the Crushmore. This will die thanks to whatever. It isn't necessarily going to get replaced right away, though, but that does segment the forces. And we get a follow-up Mother Load, so we'll have to see what Urk's plan is here. It may be that Urk is trying to set up a block break instead, allowing the turrets to advance, opening up a pathway so that way you can collapse on something. Ray Chargels comes out as the counter for Motherload. I guess. Honestly, I like the Klepto here too. It's very easy for things to bunch on this map. It's very easy to get a lot of value out of clustering. Even if it's just simply one hit due to the splash, because you take 2 hits, again, 50% reduction. Take the 2 hits, that one hit lands on something else, and that adds up over time. If you can get a few of those over the course of the game, or even just soften something up enough so that way you can collapse on it and take advantage later. Now, we're ultimately not seeing a usage of the Terraform, and I think it would have come off cooldown by now. So the question is, what did Urk originally want to do? What did Bad Guy do that put Urk off of it? That is now leading to only a Terraform occurring at this stage, and ultimately yielding Crushmore taking a fairly defensive position. All right, so now we're closing in on towards, I would say, the end of the game, but we still have a lot of game left, but end of the game as far as keys remaining. We only have 10 remaining for our hero, whereas there are 16 available for Bad Guy. Gojai was tired, chat. It's game 1 already. Whew. I'm just wiped. Like I said, I didn't sleep very well last night, and then a lot of stress as of late. A lot of stress. Spider doing the appropriate threatening thing. And we're just kind of trading 1 keys here, but Urk really needs to make something happen, and that's why... I mean, Spider's good anyway, including on this map. Now, Bad Guy has an advantage because a counterattack or even a dive is better supplemented by the Klepto due to the splash. I think everybody can recognize why. But the Spider here out of Urk addresses an issue that people often have in games where you end up in these key trading wars, where you're sending in a 1 key, then I send in a 1 key, then you send in a 1 key, then I send in a 1 key. Eventually, and that can be figured out at the point in time, somebody's going to be the last person with the panic point advantage. And the other player needs to make something happen because they're going to lose that exchange. You know, they're going to, unless the intent is, I'm going to shut down the board so that way, and we finally see this Terraform coming in. Unless it's, I want to drain keys from both of us and then reduce the board to a certain state. Most of the time, people do this, and then ultimately, it's a waste. It's like you incinerated all these keys, and you're in a worse position than if you had kept them. However, the Spider allows you to make something happen. I'm going to pause for a second so I can finish this thought and then switch to the next one. The Spider allows you to get in, snipe something, actually materially impact the board state instead of trading those keys back and forth. And I think a lot of people need to take that to heart when they get stuck in these key trading wars. Don't do that. You're just wasting time. Instead, put something on the board, whether it's a Spider, it's an Attractor, it's a Hevo 2.0, it's a whatever. Something that will reshape the board state as compared to just passing time until you hit the board state you were going to anyway. Now, the other point I was going to make is this is something I commonly do that causes me to lose games on this map, and that is sending in Crushmore aggressively. This was a cute block. Like I said, it could have come down earlier, probably would have taken way less damage if it had come down earlier, you know, before this break happened, and then you could have rolled back and done the break and whatever. You got the idea. The point is that because it got hit by so much, this only has barely over 700 health. Like, it got softened up a lot. So we'll see if we get a healer out of Urk or what route Urk decides to go. So we actually see the unicorn live, which is a little scary. Not too scary, though. And we get a muffin in order to shore up the Crushmore. That's fine. You know, it's up now to about 1,300 health, but I don't know. I don't think this block was necessarily worth it, but we'll see how Bad Guy responds here. They're more than willing to sacrifice the unicorn, it would appear. So the panic point advantage that Urk had garnered, very brief. Very brief. So Bad Guy is threatening a spider trade scenario here. You could clearly end up, you know, spider yoink spider, but then your spider will ultimately die. Well, both spiders will ultimately die. Oh, I must have messed up my shoulder too, chat. Ow, that really hurts. I don't know what I did. I'm just falling apart at the seams, chat. So you get a boomer. 7 keys to 11, or 10 now, because an AWOL comes out. I would like to see a Bluelian out of Urk. I think Bluelian has a lot of value on this map. You see the value of the healing spa on Vile Vortis, right? Everybody wants to fight over the middle, and you're if you have a healing spa centralized here, or even off to the sides via Bluelian, you can get a lot of value out of it while you're doing this trading war. Now, again, Urk is down keys, so these phobies are going to die, and Bad Guy is at the key advantage. Unless they, for some reason, just don't have a lot of small keys, they'll be able to send them into their doom and end up with a panic point advantage, or at the very least, even. So Urk elects to not, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yep, 6 phobies, elects to not put another phobie on the board, keeping that slot open. Bad Guy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, on the contrary, supplements their forces with Jar, but the Jar is the 7th phobie. Yeah, I guess this makes sense. So, I was going to say that this spider is vulnerable, but it's not really. Because this spider will end up dying. These spiders are just trading. Especially in this scenario. Now, because the stabby's here, it does open up the Klepto to take a little splash. But the Klepto could instead elect to hit this statue and get splashed this way. See what they end up doing. Looks like they're going for the direct hit, getting the splash onto the statue instead. Clearly, as mentioned, bunch of things go down. Bunch of things being 2 spiders. And we're whittling down the forces on both sides. Since Urk committed to this bot, this is something also to point out. Urk is committing down here and forcing a fight down here, right? Bad Guy traded out spiders, but this Ginsting and this Cassowary are arguably not in the game right now. What do I mean by that? Well, they're all the way up here. By the time they reposition to get involved, they're either going to hit something irrelevant, at least for some time, that being the Bowmangles, or if they try and swing down here, they're going to have to reposition. Everything else has got to move out of the way. There's a temporal advantage, a tempo advantage that is garnered by forcing a fight where your opponent doesn't have their phobies. Now, in this case, Urk is actually backing off, so we're not going to see a re-engage, which I can respect here. There isn't a lot of surface area to try and get in on things. There isn't an obvious pick-off. Because, I mean, I guess you could have walked the Mother Load in and AoE'd everything, but you're not killing anything then. And then you're at the mercy of everything just recollapsing on you. So, Urk is taking their panic point advantage and going home. And we get a... You know, I like Eternal Night. And I know there's a thread on the official Phobies Discord to try and buff Eternal Night, but I don't think it needs it. I don't think it needs it. Now, that being said, I can understand why they went Eternal Night, because, hey, they're going to have to kill this. They're going to have to dance around it a little bit because it's dimensional, not really because they have all these forces out there. But they're also going to take a bunch of damage when it dies. Except this can happen. You just simply get a takedown from the cowbell. Yes, the cowbell will die, but in this case, it actually helps. The reason it helps is this is not going to be 2 hits from the Klepto, thereby ending up with less splash damage on the Crushmore, assuming they go with Klepto, which they should. And you get an easy retake here that also put bad guy at a key deficit for the 1-key trading war until Urk decided to summon the aforementioned Bluelian. Now, I do like the Bluelian here. It's actually going for the heal here on Stabby. Looks like we had a trap there from what must have been 1,000 years ago. So that additional block clearly locks out the Stabby for some time. The bad guy here has a very delicate dance to perform to try and recap these points. They do have the keys, and then they can try and see, well, are my forces better than yours, Urk? But the longer bad guy waits, the better Urk's position is going to be, because the healing spas from Bluelian spa treatment last forever. They last so long, and they will heal so much. And there are going to be more of them. There are going to end up being more spas that will force bad guy to commit in at some point. And when they do, Urk will likely be able to punish them. Now, that being said, bad guy may say, hey, I'm going to steal the panic points back with 1 keys, then that means you'll have to commit into me. Your Bluelian has less value. But Bluelian is still a strong phobie as far as actually fighting. It's pretty tanky, it's dimensional, it can put out some damage. Yes, it's melee, but it has burrow, so it can allow for positioning tricks, as we saw in some games yesterday. Yep, and now we have multiple healing spas down. So bad guy has to do something. Contortio, the final phobie out of our hero. So, Chad, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to have to check out the map breakdown videos. We didn't go over Opticon or Vile Vortis or Big House yet. We do plan on talking about all of them because Karstocles has been putting out... Karstocles, not Karstocles. Has been putting out a number of map suggestions. And I'm going to be talking about them on stream and then ultimately putting it on YouTube. You'll have to give me my thoughts, and the reason I'm bringing it up now is, what are your thoughts on Opticon? Do you like this map? Is it a bad map? Is it a good map? What do you think? So given this long game, 37-60, 21-15, that was a 4-2 panic point advantage for a pretty long time for our hero. We're actually getting a very defensive block here. But I anticipate our hero is expecting they're just going to have to commit in. And at this point, there's no more 1 keys coming from either player, no more keys being spent from either player regardless. So our orange player or our blue player are going to have to actually do the whole phobie fight thing. Because panic points are now evenly split, and somebody's going to have to go for it. To the map discussion, this is part of the reason I don't really like maps that have even panic point layouts. Because in this scenario, it doesn't really behoove either player to commit in. You're probably better off letting your opponent commit in, you kill one of their or multiple of their forces, then you expand out after that, especially in Urk's position because you have healing phobies, so time is on your side, and then you can make other things happen. The person who's the aggressor here stands to lose more unless the other player makes an egregious positioning error kind of thing. This is always an interesting dance or a difficult assessment to make. If you break the block open, which looks like it was possible, hypothetically, from bad guy here, you run the risk of your opponent committing in because you've blown up the obstacle and giving them the avenue. Here, it allows or forces your opponent to do something themselves. You got a big hit from Blue Lean coming down there thanks to the stim. Get the follow-up here. Pretty much exactly the scenario you want to have happen, which is the stabby does not die to damage. It's going to die to fire. But you do, unfortunately, give your opponent, you give bad guy a very juicy opportunity with this Klepto. But because of the conga line they have set up for themselves here on this diagonal, not a lot of the Phobies are really going to be able to participate in this fight. Certainly not without rotation, that is. Which is what we're seeing here. Now, so 2 hits from Jin Sting had to be sunk into this statue. You only get 1 hit from the Ray Chargels, only 1 hit from the Jar. You do get the elimination there on the Crushmore, but the damage was done by the Dimensional Effect. Similar to earlier in the game, we have this Bow Mangles that's wildly out of position. We're going to get a free takedown here on the Daisy. Key disadvantage for our hero, ultimately, in this exchange. Crushmore for Daisy. But, again, healing spas to no healing spas. The damage here for orange is permanent. The damage for blue can be healed off. This is an interesting attempt here. Again, bad guy seems to be trading key positively overall. For the Crushmore, for the Stabby, these are key trades that are favoring bad guy. However, there still is a lot of juice left on our hero side. As you can see here from this mother load going down. Boom, baby. Cassowary goes down, Klepto's going to go down, and Blue Leon's going to reposition to be all up in their faces. Not fully healed, but tanky enough that I'm not expecting Ray to be able to put up a fight when it's half damaged Jin Sting and pretty damaged Jar as their supplementary forces. I think this was ultimately pretty well calculated by Urk, although I would again have to give it to, or hand it to, Phobie choices. I think Blue Leon definitely helped out a lot. It was a little risky with the Crushmore throughout the game. Like I said, I've lost a lot of games on these sort of maps because I overextend Crushmore. It's fine to send him out there, get a block that's efficient, take damage, and then heal it off. Or even send him out there, he croaks, because then it pulls him out of position. But it is, I don't want to say trivially easy, but it is fairly simple to accidentally lose it. And that almost happened in this game at a number of points. But realistically, Urk ends up taking it. GG. All right, our third game, revisiting our favorite vampire here, ironically, on Eternal Monday. Why is that ironic? Well, I feel it's for some reason that vampires really like Mondays. I don't know, does anybody else feel that way? I feel like vampires love Mondays. They definitely feel like, of all the classical monsters, vampires are the ones that love Mondays the most. So, our hero, the vampire here, the Dawn of the Snakes. I'm officially a Hydra enjoyer. I like where this is going. So, our heroic vampire here, Strahd, probably learned the hard way after this exchange about sending Snowball to the middle. This was very common for a while when everybody learned about, first acquired Snowball. It's like, hey, I can cap the middle on every map. Until this happens, and you realize, hey, my Snowball's half health, and my opponent's is full health. I wanted to do that, Luffy, but well, I was posting about it in Discord. I was posting about that in Discord with the challenges with that. So we do get Gravediggers to supplement what's going on. That's a little more common on this particular map. At least it's come back around to being common. I know I bring this up a lot now, and it's probably people are saying, oh, well, yes, it's just plain common. It's not in the phase of resurgence anymore. It's just surged. The surge has already happened, but we'll see. So we're getting, again, more standard stuff, except for this Ted. This Ted is very curious to me, but our hero's been able to hold on to a 2-to-1 panic point advantage at this stage. Maxing out on Phobies seems a little bold here. Eternal Monday, we were talking about this within the context of the Biff's Room map revamp yesterday. And if you're curious what I'm talking about, check out the map video. There'll be more of those. But a lot of these maps, these early small maps, seem to devolve into bank to queens. What are queens? Well, it's a term that I've been using to describe any of those major high-cost game reshaping phobies. The bosses, the Hevo 3.0s, the beauties, those sort of things. That when they get slammed on the board and you just go, because you can stalemate and stagnate these board states early in games, most of the time. Even if you're losing, and then bank to something big, your opponent has maxed out, now they're trapped, and then all of a sudden you can just annihilate their forces. Because it's, oh, well, I have boss. I'll send in something to die, I supplement boss with Gonzo, and then you're fired that's juiced up, and all of a sudden your whole team is turned to ash. Or the same with Hevo, or whatever. In this case, didn't really come to fruition. Instead, we're now getting, once again, max forces for our heroes. A spider has joined the team. 6 keys banked for the bad guy. It's a little weird what we're seeing here. We're getting this repositioning, but bad guy hasn't really made a whole lot of effort to reclaim these points. They're hanging on to this Bachelor, which is relevant. And the rest of their team is kind of beat up. The rest of bad guys, I mean, maybe it's just this Gravedigger, but that is salient. That matters. However, so is this spider. This is an aggressive push, but it does yield a cassowary takedown, which means that the damage output from our hero is reduced greatly. Now, you can yoink something here, which is going to happen. We get the yoink onto the stabby, but that is not what you wanted to get. That is not 5 keys worth of value, I don't think. It's probably the appropriate play at this stage. You're going to end up eliminating the stabby, although it's going to take time due to poison, so you're going to lose. Oh, you get rid of their Gravedigger. So, as the trades are going down, we have Cassowary Bachelor versus Gravedigger. So, even on keys, until this dies, which is going to happen right now. So, -5 for our hero with 9 keys remaining to bad guys 12. -6 for our hero. Now, that's not going to stay that way at the moment. Oops, there goes Stabby. And Bachelor is clearly not long for this world either. But we don't have Fireball in order to snipe the jar. This is a level 12 jar versus a level 11 Snowball. I wouldn't be able to get it anyway. Point of note, you need to be on level. So we're getting Quagmires the follow-up. I do like this out of our hero. Don't go all in on one big phobia in these sort of scenarios. You're already down. Your opponent gets a chance to react. More bodies equals more actions per turn. There is a big advantage to having more stuff. We get a foul as the counter, like, I don't know. Level 8 foul, 484 disease per turn. It will slowly take apart the Quagmire by negating its healing, but I don't know about this. This is pretty aggressive out of our hero because realistically the Snowball should die. Realistically the Snowball should die. We'll see if it actually does. Alright, so bad guy does go after it. I kind of expected this to happen because even if our hero stays here, then that means that you're going to get the beating of a lifetime from the foul. The foul's going to heal up. And the Fireball will be back online. Shish Kebab from Snowball. We're getting Creep as the final phobie from bad guy here. And then Quagmire's going in deep. Quagmire's in so deep and he's trying to keep up above my head instead of going under. If you know, you know. So Foul's going to retreat, still not... Oh, baby, is this Foul just dead? 17, this is 800. No, not quite. Not quite. Quagmire is getting crapped on. So Quagmire is going to have to run for dear life. But we do have a triple panic point advantage for our hero at this stage. Okay, it is a dead Foul. Never mind. Our hero is going to stay. They are pot committed at this point. Now, realistically, this is a challenge for bad guy here. I mean, we know the outcome, but 26-35 on the heart. You have to eliminate the Quagmire. Like, you're going to take that kill, right? But these are not super high damaging phobies. You can't even poison it with creep. So, and this are melee. Shish Kebab ignored, and whatever the creep spit is called, excruciating. Point is that you could be in some trouble in trying to kill this Hydra, especially given that you're not likely to kill it and reclaim panic points quickly enough. So look at this. Now the creep is in range of the Hydra. Yes, the Hydra can't attack and move, like close in on the jar successfully. But the forces are disappearing. And whichever panic point you go to, the Hydra can go after it and then go kill the thing that claimed the panic point. Bad guy electing to claim this, but they claimed it with the snowball, which means that it's shortly thereafter going to be a 3-0 panic point advantage again. I don't think that's what you wanted to do. I think the answer was to split. Like, send the jar to one, send the snowball to the other. But instead, our hero takes it down. Hydra wins the day. Well played. Well played, Strahd. Alright, so we have a Teen Spirit game. Our hero here is K.OZUUN. Hope I'm saying that right. Was I lucky, or is this a bot? I don't know. We're about to find out. Heard myself, but yes, I am. All right, you're in a run at the moment. That's fair. You're playing Phobies to speak Spanish? All right, cool. Well, welcome. Welcome. Ooh, we get an early block here. So our hero... This is interesting, because I have seen a lot of people go early Gravediggers on this map. Now, normally the early Gravedigger, especially going second, breaks this block back here. Why does it break this block back here? Well, it gives you a straighter run to try and connect with stuff up here. I've seen, yes, you can't immediately cap the point, but you can have snowballs come, bat out of hell style, and then fireball something that's on this point. Instead, the delay actually behooves our hero here because it breaks this block, which would have locked them out in a rather awkward position from the center point. Now, our bad guy is banked to 6. We'll have to see how this goes. The supplementary forces from our hero is Jin Sting, since there wasn't a 1 key on turn 1. Got back in a hunt for the first time in a year. Clapped first 3 lobbies. So fun. Nice. Wait, you haven't played in a year and you've been demanding I play every night? I played more hunt than you. Bad guy's going for Smiley. Oh, so you're just one of those people who like to watch other people suffer, huh, Luffy? That's fair. That's fair. That is true. So we get Moly Bully. And we have a disease going down on Jin Sting. Like, I don't know why this happened. This didn't need to happen. Like, I don't think capping this point was that important to risk the disease. I ran around with shotgun or sniper, no in between. I mean, I think I'm kind of at that point where I'm just going to go shotgun every game. So obviously, once it's diseased, you stay in there to try and eliminate this. What is hold on, what is going on in this game? Like, this is fairly low stress level for both players. We're looking at level 4 to level 8. I think 8 was the maximum I saw so far. But the K9000 goes down, the Jin Sting goes down, and the Gravedigger's about to be diseased. Wait, was this Clinico even going to do anything? Like, this probably just dies. But our hero's electing to go after the smiley. Which, honestly, I can't blame them. This is 484. So this is now a dead jar unless we get something to block here, which we do. We get a primate. Not quite a takedown on the... Oh, okay. Sure. I was going to say, if that Gravedigger lives, that puts bad guy in a really bad position. We do get the replacement on the block, though. That's really bad for our hero. That's really bad for our hero. It's... Yeah, you can't kill this Moly right now. You're not going to have enough damage. And you can't really get at anything else, so we're going to get a creep as the follow-up. If you want to have games reviewed, you got to hit up the Discord. There's a form in there to submit everything. It asks for all the details, and then we can take a look at it. Right now, there's a queue of, like, there's probably 10 more games in there that we got to go through tonight. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, that's how you do it also. Links in the description. So, our hero here... beating up the statue. I mean, they have to. They got to clear it out. But given how long it's taken, this Gravedigger is going to be ready to go pretty quickly. This is a very weird game. Watching lower stress level games is always funny. Hero's down to about half heart health. Whoa, actually less. I do like the leap here. Will allow for the jar takedown. We stabilize one of the panic points. 6 keys remaining for bad guy. Ooh, we get an ogre. Look at that guy. He is big and he is angry. That guy is pissed. He's so veiny. He's so veiny. I love his little dance. He's just like, he dances a little bit. Yo, he's ready. This game suddenly's got layers. Yo, this game has got layers. Shout out to my Shrek fans out there. For anybody who's wondering, because I didn't actually click on it, even though I was laughing about Onion Boy here. Ogre, he is in fact enraged. Doing a lot of damage, 633. He's just rumbling. Just craps on that guy right there. Ogre's more like a berserker. I mean, yeah. I don't think Zappy is the answer, given that none of these phobies are electrical. Honestly, this was looking very good for bad guy, but I think they were just over-aggressive and really just got caught out of position a few times. Because I think our hero... Let me walk this back. This might just be a case of the player who makes the last mistake loses, kind of thing. So our hero here made some mistakes early with allowing the diseases and doing this other stuff. But ultimately, bad guy, yeah, they now have an ogre pummeling their heart. And a 3-0 panic point advantage to try and claw back from. Well done. Got him. I love that ogre changes colors like this. I actually like the blue on this just looks nice. No, just attack the heart. What are you doing? I mean, oh, okay, it's just dead anyway. I was like, are you going to give them another turn? But they don't, in fact. GG. Well played. Speaking of shields, we were talking about potential future phobies, shield phobies from chat. But Heart Shield is actually our bad guy. Gakuen is our hero in the blue trunks here on Mysomania. Heart shield shields their heart. There's a lot of, there's shields going around for everybody at this point. So we're going to see what ends up happening here. We do get a weird opener from our hero. Get a Gravedigger into a Jill. I don't really get the Jill here, but I absolutely don't get the Moly Bully. But this Moly Bully, oh my god. Wait, what? I have to assume that there was no way for our hero to kill the Moly. What, like, you should have Snowball at this point. There's probably no way to kill the Moly. That might just be a little too healthy. But this Morty is very weird. Like, why did this Morty go down here? I don't understand what this Morty is doing. I guess the assumption here is that the Moly was going to aggressively dive onto the spa, which we've talked about in a few different games on this map, and I've even tried. It's fine. I don't know that you necessarily needed to immediately shift the Morty there. The reason being is that you could have alternatively just put a jar here and shelled it, and you probably override... Well, you definitely override the healing spa. Now, this represents a lot of damage, would come out and kill Jar, but then you just kill the Moly. I mean, you could even put the Jar here and then just shell it, and you'd eventually get it. Point is, I think there's ways to shoo it away without having to do that, but regardless, we have what we have. Now, speaking of aggressive heart shenanigans, we do in fact get the Gravedigger going in, and a freebie takedown for bad guy on the Snowball here, thanks to Jar and Moly Bully. Well, not quite freebie, because this Moly is dead. This thing is not long for the world. Ooh, we get the break here. Probably a good play, because you're not going to want to leave that Gravedigger around. This is a little aggressive. Is this going to kill it? 572. 800. No, not enough for the Morty. Not enough to take down the Morty. So the Morty will live through the combination of the Eternal Night and a Jar hit. This Jill will not live through this Unbearable, though. Which means that presumably the Eternal Night's going in. Ooh, so we're going to get the takedown on the Morty. That's fine. Droney and Snowball is still your only 3 movers? I mean, what are the other ones? Metabot and... Metabot? I can't even think of another one right now. We're just getting a lot of Phobie violence going down. Get the walk away from the Noxious. Alright, okay, you kill that. Which means you don't have to put the Noxious here. Well, I guess they wanted the boosted damage from the stim, so I guess that's fine. I guess that's fine. I think my wife is vacuuming, so if you hear a weird noise in the background, that's why. Interestingly enough, Blue has yet to claim this top panic point. Which is very interesting, but we've now gotten 2 Hydra games on the night, chat. Well, it's like they can hear me in the past through the internet, because that's how, you know, space and time work. Venus is a follow-up, 10 keys remaining for our hero, only 5 available for next turn, with 17 available for bad guy. We're getting Erratic, which I don't hate, but it's also not going to be very good unless we get a Gravedigger or Crushmore or something to break this block here and then get Erratic position there. It is still somewhat vulnerable. I don't understand this Gravedigger here. I mean, I guess you get 1 more hit. Or they might send it into body block. I'm not really clear on what this is doing. Gonzo is the follow-up. The erratic into a noxious is questionable, we'll say. By the way, this unbearable has been sitting here for like 100 turns, and what has it done? Killed a Jill? I'm like, alright, pal. You're definitely earning your paycheck there. So this is a better answer. Innocuous on the stim. The erratic is going to tank this damage. Alright, fine. But now we're going to get a gonzoed up Noxious going in, most likely. Nope, we're not. I can't call him tonight. I thought we were going to get a gonzoed up Noxious in order to puke on the erratic and the Daisy. Sure. This is very weird. I mean, honestly, our hero's in a pretty solid position. They do have the better of the forces here. They're kind of just offering up this Venus for seemingly no reason, but bad guy does have a panic point advantage. But the key situation has now leveled out. Bad guy's only +1 key in the bank. 4 of which are getting committed to Temptress. This feels like an early concession. We've talked about Temptress a lot lately, and Temptress is one of those phobies that just needs help. There's no getting around it. Temptress needs help. Are we gonna juice a boom? What is happening here? What is going on with this musical chairs nonsense in the north? Like, what is this? Ultimately, this boom is just gonna die, right? Daisy onto the lava is sus. So is the erratic that is well within... Like, I don't think this Daisy dies in one juiced hit. Well, maybe it does now. $1,229 damage going down. Big old chomp out of the snake going down onto the heart here. Interestingly enough, we get the Noxious Spit onto Murderwing and Innocuous? Like, what? I don't know about that one. I guess it's fine. This feels weird, and it absolutely feels like these were not the optimal lines. Especially because this erratic... I mean, if you're going to do this, then don't go after the erratic. You'd have to position differently because the erratic is getting 1 billion splash damage. Like, now the erratic is full health, and it's never going to die. But this is a dead Hydra. This really feels like bad guy is in a pretty solid position despite choosing some exceptionally questionable phobies. Wait, what? Okay. So we get the aggressive Gonzo in order to kill the Murderwing that... And we get the heal onto Gonzo, which... No, we get the heal onto Noxious. Oh my god, that didn't kill it. Oh no. What is happening? Chat, what the hell is this game? This is like hyper scrappy. The Gravedigger goes down, the Noxious goes down. Does our hero win this? So Temptress goes down trivially. Like, that phobia just sucks. That phobia sucks. The Gonzo is very beat up. Can't even stay there. It might just die to this. So it dies, but that means the Innocuous dies because it stepped on the... Oh my god! So now it's Klepto versus Erratic. Bad guy's just passing turns. Panic point advantage hero now. 900 health on the heart. The Erratic can't kill this. So the question is, does our hero go for their heart, or does the hero swing around and try and cap these back panic points? Based on how much time is left, they must stay here and fight and just die. Oh my god, the bait! The bait! Chat! Chat! Oh my god! Are you serious right now? Get the hell out of here! What? Yo, if I was bad guy, I'd be so pissed. That trap from the goddamn Bronze Age. Are you serious? You know what the funny thing is? Bad guy might have, if they just recap the panic point, they might have just won. Because I don't know what our hero does. Because they can't circle around without getting into range of the Erratic, I don't think. Unless they take, like, the scenic route. And then that opens up bad guy to just claim the other panic point and win. You know, like, they'd be up 4-1. That's brutal. I'd be so mad. GG. So we have something a little special for you. This is Tiny Terrors 1. First Tiny Terrors event, finals game, and one of my first time playing Teen Spirit without using Gravedigger. DT is our hero here, although Idsinus Prime, or Prime is, I think the full name, is actually part of the Discord. Also, if you want to play Tiny Terrors or Fright Night, hit up the link in the description. So here we go once again. Tiny Terrors, the things to keep in mind here are these games are async, these games are at level 1, and you can only use common and uncommon phobies. So we'll have to see how this works. I'll have to see how this works. Exactly right, Scarlet, exactly. So it does, the time change does throw everybody off. It is annoying, but I don't have the power to change that. I only have power over so many things. So Teen Spirit is interesting. I'm a little surprised that we didn't get Gravediggers anyway. I'm pretty sure Gravediggers is an uncommon. Pretty sure Crushmore is uncommon as well. But either case, we're getting not quite mirrored openers, but fairly close openers. We get 1/1 Unbearable out of DT. We get 1 Cassowary and then Unicorn into Unbearable. So really not that similar. Never mind. I saw the Unbearables and 1 Keys, and I'm like, yeah, they're pretty close. They're not that close. So we do get a Gravedigger. We can, in fact, confirm, yes, uncommon. The Gravedigger in response and maxing out phobies for our blue player here. In response to an Innocuous, I don't know. But the 5th phobie is a little creepy. You get a little creep going on, which is pretty good here into Double Undead. Now, is it though? Because they're going to be able to heal it off, especially the Unbearable, I think. It depends on how hard DT wants to commit. But given that you don't, this is unique. DT's talking about not using Gravedigger on this map. And obviously they're not, but given the usage of Innocuous, that makes this a little strange. This is also... No, this is fine. This is safe, because they don't have the surface area to hit with both of these. You could clear out the cat and get one of these to connect with the Innocuous, but that's not good enough. But yeah, the advantage for the Gravedigger with this is, for example, this position, if you were to break this block, then you can target the center. Right now, you have to move in order to get an angle here. But regardless, it's a 2-0 panic point advantage for our orange player. Blue is banking to 9. We have 7 available for orange. Let's see what they do next. So we do get the poison going down here. 375. Actually not enough to kill this on its own, which would mean that creep would end up trading out for cassowary, because the cassowary would have to supplement. Sorry, just double checking something. We do get the follow-up Daisy. So as it stands, we do need something out of our blue player in order to kind of go over the top here, because these forces aren't strong enough to invade in this position, and we are probably going to see the... well, actually, this can't trade, right? No, it can. It actually can. So the creep will trade for this. We'll get the counter creep poison, presumably, onto this unbearable. Getting a lot of undead. A lot of undead out of these games. Jin Sting is the follow-up here. 5 keys remaining for our orange player. All 10 available for our blue player. Are we going to see a Barzilla? Because that's realistically one of the few legal big phobies. You can't use your ultra rares. You can't use your rares. Barzilla is a lowly uncommon. And we do, in fact, see the big hungover lizard. The big old hungover lizard, but it can get kind of the snot kicked out of it here. You get the clear out with Daisy, then you get double hits from Unbearable and Innocuous. Oh, we're going after the opposing Unbearable instead. Is that just dead? Ooh, that's rough. That's a dead Unbearable, and that might be the nail in the coffin here. You will get 3 hits out of Barzilla and Gravedigger. And there are 2 keys remaining for each player. The board position quite clearly in favor of our orange player. Spreading the love with the fire damage going down onto multiple phobies. And another visual block, we'll say, with the Gravedigger. Now this leads to a little chop action and a dead unbearable. Panic point advantage remains orange, and we are going to have to probably see a retreat here in order to ensure that something terrible doesn't happen to this Innocuous. Never mind. The Innocuous can actually just straight up murder the unicorn. And that's got to be all she wrote. I mean, this is a dead Jin Sting. It's going to get pulled forward into a trap. It should die anyway. The follow-up Daisy is going to lock it in. Because there aren't enough bodies for our blue player to reasonably eliminate the Resurrect Phobies. This is kind of what happens when they show up at the tail end of a game. This was very well played, and we're still learning about the Tiny Terrors format. It's, of course, one that we're running through the Random Thoughts Discord just for funsies to try other stuff out with Phobies. And we're learning a lot about it. I'm curious about the players' input, or other people's input for that matter, and if you want to try the format out, hit up the Discord. I'm curious whether people feel Innocuous is too good, it's fine, or whatever, because realistically, it is a challenge. How do you dive it? How do you dive it? But it definitely presents a different way to play the game, limiting you to strictly commons and uncommons, and kind of levels the playing field from a collection perspective as well. But GG, well played, DT, well done. So we go from DT, our first Tiny Terrors champion, again, shout out to DT, to NaseemJ, the ups and downs of playing Hoploy. Please also check out the Lost to Hoploy on 412 to see the new stress level. 130 Phobie, subnoxious, all games have been favored. It will shout out to NaseemJ for pointing that out. If you are looking to get subnoxious, so you can get, well, you can't add it to the collection because it's stress phobia, but you get the idea. You can definitely see it there. It is also available on my Phobie Finders bot in the Random Thoughts Discord. Again, link in the description. Thereabouts, the like and subscribe button. Help me out. But yeah, Hoploy is kind of that terror on the ladder. Level 23 Razormouth Level 13 Razormouth. You can see a few statistical differences between these two phobies. It adds up. It definitely adds up. And as we've said before, it is not insurmountable to beat levels. It's not impossible. But it is very challenging, and it definitely allows you to make more mistakes. It's just a buffer. You kind of get the idea when we're looking at a almost 2,500 health stabby. That's a pretty big stabby. Innocuous is hard to deal with if you don't have a good murder wing or cassowary. It can be. It can be. Now remember, in Tiny Terrors, everything's set to level 1, so it's not necessarily like you can't have a better murder wing or something like that. Subnoxious looks cool. It is a cool looking phobia. I'm curious to see how it plays out. I was talking about it briefly yesterday because the question came up. What are my thoughts on it? Realistically, that phobia doesn't exist. It just doesn't. Like, who's the next closest person to Hoploy to getting that phobia? I have no idea, and I don't know what level they're at. But I imagine it's going to be some time before we even get a second one, let alone third, fourth, fifth, etc. And because it's so far out, I mean, it doesn't exist in the game for a while, so I'm not worried about it. Like, if I go up against Hoploy and they pop out Subnoxious and kick the crap out of me, all right, you got me. What am I going to do? I'm not going to stress over, oh my god, how do I beat Subnoxious? Like, first of all, I have to play Hoploy. They have to decide to use it, and then I'll worry about it. But in the meantime, what we got to worry about here is that a Hevo 2.0 is deployed in the face of Erratic. Now, realistically, does that matter? Probably not. Probably not. Nobody has it, but it's cool to know it exists in the game, I guess. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that being a thing. But until it appears on a regular basis, this is the same discussion that I typically have about Boss. Boss, just by nature of being an ultra rare, doesn't show up that much. So I should come up with better game plans against Boss, but realistically, I need to play more games against it. And I just, even observing games, even playing games, I don't see Boss that much. And it's not because Boss is bad, it's because Boss is ultra rare, which kind of implies how commonly it shows up. So I'm not, in a lot of these scenarios, I'll worry about it when it's a more common thing. At least from a gameplay loop perspective. But in the meantime, we get an attractor to supplement our hero's forces here. 8 keys remaining for bad guy. Now, this being a smaller map, you can wait out the timer, so to speak, a little bit, in the sense that it's a 2-to-1 panic point advantage. You're just not, well, now it's a 3-to-0, but you're not taking that much damage, realistically. So, if that is true, you can just kind of wait until you're ready to do whatever it is you want to do. And our hero here is trying to set up an attractor play, which definitely makes sense. Now, I do like doing this, though, to point this out. Eliminating the cat, it might have even been worth... 1, 2, 3... No, you don't want to advance the attractor. I was going to say advance the attractor here, but it could have been hit by a Hevo and the Snowball, and given the levels, I'm just going to assume the attractor would be dead. But you do want to move things up so that way you can set up these poles, these yoinks, just like we have here. This is going to let 2 hits from Erratic go down thanks to Splash. It's going to get Lava. We're going to get a Meatball. We're going to get the Bowmangles. Obviously, Unicorn's going to die. The question is, will... Definitely not the Evo. This is cool, though. We get the Lockout blocking the boss, meaning that we're going to get several turns of a 2-to-1 panic point advantage. It definitely helps our hero here. Unfortunately, we're going to get a lot of AoE going down. Or a lot of potential AoE. A tractor? Yep. Get a little bit of You're Fired into a little bit of boopage. No. Press X to doubt. I'm going to assume... Wait. No, this would be dead. Well, maybe not, because this would get pushed back here. I think. Maybe that's what happens, is like it gets pushed here instead of down here. So therefore, this would have taken less damage. But I think you still want to do it in order to boop this. So that way it only gets a single hit this turn instead of 2. Because this Murder Wing can clear out the snowball, then you get double hits here with chains, and then the combination of all this probably kills the Hevo, almost kills the boss. I don't know, we'll see how our hero here plays out this turn. But I can see this going very poorly for Hoploy. Oh, we're actually just going to get the reposition. But we ultimately get the takedown onto the 2.0 anyway. And you're fired as a backfire. Alright, the boss retreats oddly. I don't quite, like, it would have been better to just put the hit on a tractor and then walk away. Because you could still end up here. But just like that, it's merely stabby and boss versus all this stuff. I don't know about charging into the flames there. Like, you just literally didn't have to take that damage. But we have probably one more turn before your fired is back up. Bad guy hellbent on incinerating that statue. And all of a sudden, we're going to have another yoink available, and this should be a dead boss, and then shortly thereafter, dead bad guy. Okay, it's apparently not a dead boss. How much health does this still have? It still has 2,600. You get 2 hits here, so that's 1,000. 15, 21, 26. Like, this could have been a dead boss. This should have been a dead boss, I think. Maybe this wasn't in position. Where was this? Was it here? Because if it was here, it's I don't know. I feel like you could have just killed boss on that last turn, because yoink was definitely up. Honestly, it would be cool to see a phobia that gets healed by fire, but seeing how rare fire is, it wouldn't be very applicable. I disagree. Fire is super common. I mean, yes, Hevo and boss are ultra rares. There's the final boss elimination. Or finally, the boss elimination. Get the block here to force the stabby into an awkward position. So, aside from boss and Hevo, just Snowball shows up, like, all the time. And then there's Fire Ant also. And I'm sure we'll get more fire phobies. But presumably, if it gets healed by fire, it would probably also heal off lava tiles. Doesn't necessarily have to, but, you know, it is the potential. GG. Looks like the concession came in not long after this, and understandably so, 5 phobies to 1, even if it is a level 24 stabby. And a very damage force. That's still a lot to go through. GG, well played. Well played. So we have somebody new showing up for the game breakdowns. Lazy Bones 07. Shout out to Super Mario Brothers fans. I'm pretty sure that was the... oh, no, that was Dry Bones. I was thinking the skeleton turtle was Lazy Bones, but it's actually Dry Bones. So, womp womp. There goes that whole segue that I was going to have, but whatever. One of my closest saves is a pretty low-ranked game, by the way. I hope you enjoy. All right. Well, shout out to Lazy Bones, and shout out to everybody else that submits games. Like I said before, if you want to submit games, you can hit up the Random Thoughts Discord link for that, along with the live stream where we're doing this right now, is in the description. Likes and subscribes, all that crap. So yeah, this is a pretty low-level game. We'll have to see how this plays out for our hero. This is on one of my least favored maps. Again, I don't know that this map is necessarily bad. I think there are attributes of it that could be changed for the better. And like I said, we were talking about it yesterday in the sense that Karstocles suggested a whole bunch of changes. A lot of people suggested map changes. And realistically, I think we're more likely to just get new maps rather than change the existing maps. But it is fun to look at it and try and hypothesize, well, how could we improve this? Because a number of maps that released with the game originally or, you know, showed up in rotation early on before we got the additions from Full Disclosure, before we got the additions from Carnival, before we got the additions from the 1-year anniversary. A lot of them, I think, kind of are showing their age. We know that there are things that are lacking or are potentially lacking that could be improved on these maps. Ooh, so this is an aggressive invade here. We do have a triple panic point advantage for our hero in the blue trunks, but a lot of their forces are about to evaporate. Or come pretty close. So 3 keys go down. This is a level 7 Gravedigger. Not quite enough to solo the Jar Cannon. But we will be able to remove things, if so desired, to allow the Murder Wing to connect with the Jar. So we're getting the break here that allows for the Stabby to just clear out this cat. Or not. Going for the AWOL first. There goes the cat. Are we going to get the dive? We do, in fact, get the dive. That'll take down this Jar. Now, at this stage, clearly the Murder Wing can go down easily, but that's a very healthy Stabby, and you have the counter threat of this Cassowary here. Point being is that there's a lot of... You take down this Murder Wing, you probably lose yours. But this would likely be an exchange that's going to favor Bad Guy rather than our hero. But ultimately, Bad Guy retreats to a safer position, pops out a preemptive Muffin. Interesting. I'll admit I got cocky or shouldn't have pushed so hard. So we've seen a lot of pushes on this map. Hilariously enough, a lot of them have been involving Misanthrope, where it just ends up on the stim and it suddenly can't do anything. I can absolutely understand the desire to push. They're down around half health. They have to contend with your forces and address the panic point situation. They seem only somewhat interested in dealing with one of those problems. But the Cassowaries go down. They'll end up trading. I don't know. Right now, this seems like it's Ace's hero. Because you can bomb these. Yep. And then you can eliminate these two. And then it's like, all right. I don't know about advancing a Stabby here, though. All right, that's fine. I think you have to kill this, though. I think you're better off... You have 6 keys. So hold on. I want to see, what is the health of the Cassowary at after all this? Because what I'm thinking here is you do this... Although it's risky, A, going sheep when they already have the Muffin on the board. And I'm not a big fan of sheep anyway. Okay, so a low-level Jar would not kill this Cassowary. But the thing is, I think killing both of these has value, because obviously the Murder Wing still can deal damage. It's alive. Yes, you'll get double hit by this. You could end up pulling their Stabby onto the stim, but removing the bodies has value. I totally shouldn't have went for the eye. The Muffin was very close by. Yeah, like, it might have been better. I mean, even if you go for it here... So, at a low level, the only thing that's going to... Oh, no, this is actually in range of regular range stuff, but with only 3 keys, there's not a lot that's threatening it. You can still attack regular attacks with sheep. It's a good amount. But it might have been better to gas these two. I mean, the Muffins... I don't know. I think you can still kill this. That's the point. The problem is leaving this alive means that all this damage went down on the sheep. If you killed this, that sheep probably lives. Because how much health was the sheep? 1694? It would have been heavily damaged, and I guess, hypothetically, say, a Spud could come out. But I think you can kill these two on the previous turn, still gas this, and be okay. But yeah, you're in a rough spot now, except for the fact that Bad Guy's still very much under pressure from Like, they have to cap these panic points, and that Stabby's not going to be in position for forever. I like the positioning of Baby Snaky here because clearly the Stairmaster has to come in. It's the only thing that's even remotely in range. If they were to cap a panic point, that is. And both of these mean that the Stairmaster's risking death by doing so. Bad guy burns the rest of their keys, but it's still yet to cap a panic point. Get a little boopage going on. I like the play. I don't think it matters. I guess it does matter. Panic point advantage. Bad guy all of a sudden in Rutro. 0 keys to 0 keys. This is the correct thing to do. You just have to go for it and hope. Especially going this way. You don't want to swing the other way because you would have still been in range of Stim. Bad guys are going to do their worst, and their worst does not appear to be worst enough. Their only hope at this point is that our hero just makes an egregious error by attacking the wrong thing, but instead the stapler remover, in fact, goes chomp chomp on the heart. GG. GG. That wasn't bad. I do think it was a little overly aggressive, but at the same time, I like aggressive plays personally. I think it's better to just go for the throat and try and say, hey, I'm going to end this game. And you were in such a bully position that your opponent had to accomplish multiple goals. They had to simultaneously honor all your phobies and honor all the panic points. It certainly got close, and if it's low stress level, I don't know necessarily like what you had access to, but like that turn with the sheep could have been cleaned up, but I think overall it wasn't bad. All right, we're up for another TCT game, this time returning on Biff's room. Not Biff's class, as we were talking about in the other video, which I commented on, like, I know. It's okay. Somebody misnamed the map. It's allowed. But anyway, random trap placement wins the game. Well, the exciting thing here is our hero is in the orange trunk, so we won't actually see where the traps go down, so we'll be as surprised as bad guy is, but Baby Snaky is honestly insane for its cost. It definitely feels like a low stress level bully, especially if you can get it, you know, if it's slightly above the average stress level that you're at, especially early on, you can really bully people with it. It represents an enormous amount of damage, but it doesn't, it falls off in usage as you climb the ladder because it's melee and it isn't as impressive as a threat anymore. But speaking of threats, we have a Gesundheit and a Gravedigger here, so we didn't get a Gravedigger break. We know what's going to happen. Yep. So we get the block here. That's going to lock out things for a few turns as our hero TCT tries to clear stuff out. Get a big Gesundheit shot going down, but random trap, number 1. So the Poison Ivy, thanks to the additional movement, means this is a dead Gesundheit. Don't even need extra phobies because the cat's going to come in to clean it up. And honestly, our hero is not in a terrible position here. Yes, the Gravedigger play is cute, but it doesn't mean that much. And the addition of this Murder Wing is going to shoo away the jar. Or should, anyway. Jar eliminates the cat. What? I guess. Okay, so our hero here is going for the Gravedigger elimination instead. Only an 800 health Poison Ivy, and you had to burn the meatball, so that means you're not threatening this jar right now. Well, Cassowary will threaten it. Alright, so this puts bad guy in a weird position of, like, which phobie do you want to kill? You can get one, but not the others. Really? Could you not have killed that with just meatball? And this? This seems too aggressive by bad guy. Because you could have meatballed, jarred, walked away. I mean, you'd probably... So they went Gesundheit and microscopic. Point is, they could have got that, and it would have been safe. But I guess our hero doesn't want to dive and risk losing anything further, thanks to the microscopic follow-up. I feel like they could have killed this Murder Wing. No, Murder Wing's too healthy. Because a non-meatball shot won't do it in. So this whole time, that unicorn has been blocked out, and therefore we're not getting this panic point recap, panic point advantage, bad guy for a very long time, and now they're in position to defend it fairly well. Clinico means that we are going to get more traps, because that poison ivy is much healthier than it should be at this stage. And we're nearing the halfway point. But this is one of the comments I was making earlier, and we were talking about in the map breakdowns, is that, quite simply, these small maps, and Biff's Room is a good example of it, where you can just bank to queens. You can bank to really big, dangerous phobies by stalling the game out. Look how long it's been, where it's a 2-to-1 panic point advantage. And, like, yeah, this is almost half health, but, like, there's still over 4,100, well, over 4,000. There's exactly 4,100 health left. Like, I don't know. Really feels like this game truly begins once you get snowballed, but I'm sure that's heavily debatable. The game changes. So the thing is that each of the stress level phobies, to varying degrees, are really game-changing. Gin Sting is a big deal because it could be your only AoE phobie for a very long time. Plus, Gin Sting gets used in virtually, we're not seeing it here, but like virtually every game a Gin Sting comes out. From one side or the other or both. Snowball, Akira, obviously, even Foul, Yeti, Glob, all of these are really powerful. What is going on here with all the dancing? Is there a quest I'm unaware of like, move phobies so many times in a game? But Snowball is probably far and away the most impactful. 3-mover, 5 range, essentially. It's very important as a jar sniping tool, as Murder Wing is, but, you know, like, you get the idea. This is a mistake out of our hero here. Is it a mistake, though? How many traps are out here? Oh my god, how many traps are out here? Ooh, this is a brutal turn. Nice. Those are some good traps. No poison on the Hevo, obviously. But we do get a Klepto as follow-up. That feels nice. That's nice. Ooh, have to burn the meatball in order to take down the jar. That's a little unfortunate here. You'd much rather, of course, be able to sink the damage elsewhere. Or at least save the meatball in the process. But the Murder Wing's going to die anyway. Unless bad guy decides to do something weird. They do, in fact, decide to do something weird. They're going after the Poison Ivy. 0 phobies for either player. And what? Aren't these two just, like, dead right now? Maybe not both. Yeah, it looks like both. Wow. Okay, maybe not. Surprisingly, this microscopic tanks all the damage. Level 11, 1100, a little over 1100 health total. Sure. Okay, that dies. Does this die? Okay, there has to be another trap. How does our hero win this? Is there another trap? There has to be another trap. Because otherwise, this unbearable can go right here and just like, there's the trap. Bad guy got greedy, I think. I think this was greed. I think this was greed. 725 health. I absolutely get that. Oh my god, another trap. Oh, how pissed is this guy? This guy is so mad right now. That's 2 games tonight where we have these random ass traps that just annihilate somebody in the dream crusher that is TCT. Well done. Well done. Honestly, so bad guy just needs to straight up roll the unbearable. You know there's no trap there because it went off like a turn before. Wait, did it go off on that spot? Okay, maybe you don't know there's not a trap there. Maybe you don't know that there's not a trap there, but I feel like you have to assume that there's a trap on the panic point. Maybe they thought there weren't any more, especially after the Poison Ivy one. That's a tough one. I'm inclined to say, hey, just go for the heart. Like, forget the panic point, just roll up, start lobbing at the heart. Your opponent can't kill you fast enough, I don't think. So just go for it and win. But maybe the math doesn't work out that way. Either way, GG TCT. Well done. All right, our hero here is Master Dark. The Hevo 2.0 kill was just perfect. Little chef's kiss action here. We'll see what happens. So we're on Magnificent. I know a lot of people don't like this map, and honestly, I kind of like it. I kind of like it. It feels like there's more push and pull as you rotate to different parts of the map trying to do things. It could just be that I feel like I am very successful on this map, and I may not be. This seems like a mistake out of bad guy, because this is probably just a dead Eternal Night for freezies. Nope. Master Dark is electing instead to go to a 3-0 panic point advantage. Same reason most people use Quagmire over Gator. Yes, for the most part, you get the same thing you're trying to get out of Gator, you get out of Quagmire, but for 2 keys cheaper. Now, that being said, there's value sometimes in having both, or there's value sometimes in just having bigger numbers. All right, we get a little zoomies action with the snowball there, doing laps up in the corner. But bad guy is unable to eliminate this cowbell, and this is something you hate to see. Who let him cook? You hate to see 1 keys just lurk. It is very relevant because then they can just go around and start capping more points. And it's effort that you don't want to have to spend. I'm not really sure what's going on there. So one other thing, speaking of letting things live, this Eternal Night is going to live. The question is, what is it going to go after? We get the Attractor, follow-up Attractor. I'm sure gave pause to bad guy, because did bad guy forget this was poisoned? You're gonna heal it? Oh, wow. So we get a Clinico to save the Eternal Night. That's a bold move, Cotton. Ooh, this could get nasty. Get the yoink. That's a cool yoink. It's a fun yoink. Not if you're on the receiving end, but chomp chomp. Gotta love them French fries. Down goes Spud. 3-2 panic point advantage. Bad guy, however. I don't know why the creep didn't so I don't know if our hero ran out of time, but like this creep was safe. Or even this was safe. Like you could, well, no, wait, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the creep wouldn't have been safe because you could have hit it with this and this, but I feel like that's worth, because you have Leap, you have a 3-ranger, you have other bodies. I think you take the panic point. Whoops, I didn't mean to skip their turn. Healing a 2-key is insane, honestly. There are times where it's valuable. Going Clinico for it is very risky if you don't have a bank already. So if you have a bank already, and then you can go, all right, well, I'll get more value out of the Clinico because I'll immediately drop Hevo, Boss, whatever. Like something that's big enough that you would want to heal, right? In this case, we're not seeing any follow-up. I mean, now we're getting it back to 8, but, like, we're not seeing the follow-up that you'd want out of something like that. So remember that one key that lived? Yes, it's going to trade, but you're trading up. You're not going to hate yourself over that one. And in the meantime, bad guy has done nothing to threaten this attractor. Now, I don't think I would have shot that with the attractor twice. I think you move the attractor up. But at the end of the day, you still have the attractor. So most of the keys are going to get invested in a Klepto. 8 keys remaining for bad guy, or 8 keys available for bad guy, not remaining. Still 15 on top of the 8, but... Or as some might say, 23. Creep. Being creepy to an opposing creep. Sure. You know what I think would be cool, chap? If the Phobies incorporated the player color in some fashion. Like, it's more obvious on creep. Maybe not in that particular. That's a cool screenshot. That's a cool image. I'd probably use this for the thumbnail if we didn't have the ogre thing earlier. But if you look at creep, you can see, like, in between the wraps, there's, like, this teal color. What if that were... Yeah, that's really annoying because of the attractor. What if that were, like, blue or orange? It were, like, the eyes on Hevo changed or something like that. I don't know if I'd like that. I'm not sure. But regardless, we get the yoink. Is this the fabled Hevo 2.0 kill? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. It would be an accurate assessment that no, in fact, Hevo 2.0 does not die here. It lives. But we do get a Ray Chargels as follow-up. Panic point advantage remains bad guy. Well, we do get a second heal out of this Clinico, and there is a relevant phobia to heal now, right? Erratic. For a second, I thought they were going to leave the snowball there, and I'm like, you can't. Please, don't. Not like this. Get a good splash hit going down here. Bad guys still on their heels very much. I mean, it's a 5-0 panic point advantage, which is an enormous amount of damage on this map. Like, it's a huge amount of damage. But bad guy really can't advance into here, because if they do, stuff's gonna die. And important stuff. It's like, oh, you'll get one hit with Hevo and not even a hit with Erratic. I mean, I guess they could pop out Gravedigger here and do something, but instead it's going to be a jar. Evo 2.0 rotating to the top. Sure. Oh, this is such a cool play. Oh, we gotta look at this, Chad. This is such a cool play. Such a heads-up play. You'd get the Gravedigger block, but why? I'll tell you why. That's an attractor on the board, and he's saying, get over here, Mortal Kombat style. And then the rest of the team is just, you know, they're going to bat for their teammate. And they're going to light up this Hevo's life. Get it? Because there's electricity and there's fire. 2 ways to create light. Well done. Well done. You just have little marks of some sort on the tile itself that the phobia is standing on. A pretty easy way to distinguish duplicates. I don't think there's really a need to, Scarlet. Like, I just thought of it because it would look kind of cool. Or could look cool. It might look stupid, but I think that it would just be fun, but I don't think it's really necessary, because realistically, who has difficulty differentiating their phobies versus the other player's phobies? They face opposite ways, except when they're getting hit and they turn to face it. Ooh, that's not a dead Clinico. Do you not have Fireball? I guess not. But we do have Edgar Allan. Chat, we're finally seeing it. I mean, we've seen it like once before, but we're going to see an Edgar. At this point, this game is over. It's Erratic and Alligator versus the world. Although, admittedly, less of the world now that Snowball bit the dust. But we get an Edgar Allan going down. Masterdarksh showing off. Hey, look at this. That's a lot of extra damage. Realistically, I think Masterdarksh could have played literally no Phobie and still won. But this is way cooler. This is way cooler. The bird has arrived. Love this guy. You love to see it. The bird is the word. Not bad, not bad. And then there was only Erratic. And soon to be no Erratic. Little tornado spin. Got him. GG, Masterdarksh. Well played. That was pretty hype. That was pretty hype. Alright, we're jumping back into another K.OZUUN game. This time on Vile Vortis. Yet another win for free-to-play players. Alright. So Vile Vortis is another one. Now I'm only missing Rusty to see. Oh, you haven't seen Rusty? I mean, admittedly, that's probably difficult. Nobody plays that Phobie. Nobody plays Rusty. And with good reason. So it would appear that our hero is low enough stress level to not have Snowball, because otherwise that is just the accepted opener here. 1 key in Snowball. Second player typically goes Snowball Cassowary 1 key to counteract the first player's Snowball. Here it looks like bad guy is able to bank a little bit because it wasn't the aforementioned Snowball in or from player 1. But in the meantime, supplementing force is still a panic point advantage for our hero in the blue trunks. You know, I was thinking about this, chat. I mentioned before that it does go through my head sometimes when I'm playing Arena and I'm like, oh, I'm running out of time and I want to pop something out. I should go Henrietta because the animation is so much faster. And a lot of people have requested, hey, can we get faster animations? Can we get this? Can we get that? And I wonder what would, like, if we just sped up the animations to Henrietta's speed for some of them, what would they look like? Are they going to look really funny? Because I feel like some of them are going to look really, really funny. Like, they're just going to look super silly. In the meantime, my musings aside, is this a dead murder wing? Because I was thinking about this. Ugh, that hurts. Trading murder wing for Henrietta is less than ideal. What is the level gap disparity here? Level 11? Not letting me click on stuff. Level 6? Alright, that's a pretty big level gap. That's a pretty big level gap.
Hi, baby. Go, baby.
Puppy's here. Just barely in petting range, as you can tell by me leaning out of my chair. Imagine Glob with that speed. It would be pretty funny. It would actually be really funny to see it, like, just slapping on the ground. It's like, rumbling forward. So, Panic Point Advantage hero. Few things getting picked off here. And a Smiley as follow-up. This feels like overconfidence from Bag. Like, why Smiley here? Down goes the Snowball, which probably didn't need to happen. It's like, yeah, you got the cat, but who cares? That didn't have to be there. Smiley is going to get answered by K.OZUUN and Alligator. As mentioned before, we have a little bit of a level gap here, so we're looking at level 4 Gator versus level 11. That's a fairly significant level gap. 16 keys to, well, more than 16 remaining. But we're going to have a 4-to-1 panic point advantage shortly, unless bad guy does something. Now, what I'd like to see is the Jin Sting take the top point, and then the Hevo come in to cover the middles. That way it could beat up the Smiley. Jar supplementing the forces. Like I said, this Smiley just doesn't seem to make sense. And, yep, K.OZUUN is already on top of it. Way ahead of me. And a little creepage going on. So 4-to-1 panic point advantage, and this is the thing. A lot of people talk about stalemates on this map, and they absolutely can, where you end up getting these concaves set up. Nobody wants to go in to fight over the center because you commit, they have a healing spa, whatever. But I think between terraform abilities and then ultimately, ooh, we get a Hevo 3.0. Level 12 Hevo, ruh-roh. Between, you know, a variety of different factors, I think there's interesting things that go on this map that, like, I just like this map. I don't know why I do, but I do. I think I like this the most out of all the pillar maps, this Big House and Opticon. Getting the beatdown going down on the Smiley. Clustering for that Hevo is a little sus. Disease there. Oh, see, I don't know if I like this. So, yes, you disease it. Yes, it's beat up. But this allows the Hevo to get 2 hits here, spread damage onto your Hevo, as well as the Jar can pummel it. Like, this Hevo is going to take a ton of damage. What? I don't hate this, actually, because you get the Jar also. And it looks like you wouldn't have gotten 2 hits on the creep anyway, so you wouldn't have been able to splash as much, so that's fine. I don't know, I don't quite get the defensive Smiley positioning, though. Imagine if we had a Phobie that was essentially Quagmire or Gator, but as a mech. People have talked about, like, a nanobot mechanical Phobie to be a regenerating Phobie kind of thing. I think that would be possible, but its damage output would have to be absolutely anemic, because mechs tend to have more health anyway, and now you're talking about a nigh unkillable Phobie. Because it can't be diseased, it can't be poisoned, it can be healed. It's not like it's undead. And it's going to have more health naturally than those other ones. I could see it being like a literal tank, as in, like, the Phobie is literally a tank, so that it has a ton of HP and it kind of fits, you know what I mean? And then it only moves one space to help differentiate it. Alright, so we get an Erratic as the follow-up. I can appreciate it here. Bad guys down to 7 keys. Our hero's completely out of keys, with Electrocat and Primate rounding out the forces. Panic point advantage was still in favor of our hero, but now is swapping over. This is still a rough spot. Like, this is a rough spot. But if bad guy is going to allow our hero to pick off their forces, maybe they're okay. The challenge here is that we now have a Resurrect Phobie on the board. Well, we had other ones, but there's another Jackalope coming out here, who is electing to... What? Okay. The bad guy here, I think, is just trying to abuse their levels. Be like Bull Mangle's older brother. I mean, it could be. I'm picturing it being melee rather than range for obvious reasons, but... I mean, both to keep with precedent and, like, as a balancing tool. The bad guy, I think, here is just being overconfident with their numbers. I mean, our hero has to stand and fight in order to make anything relevant happen. And moving the Gator here is actually pretty significant. The reason being is you don't want the triple splash from the Hevo, who is also very damaged. So now it will get double hits. But the forces are starting to deplete. Gator can't quite finish this Hevo off. Ooh. Sheep can't even kill the Gator. Wow. I don't know what the muffin is for, because it's not going to be able to heal anything. I mean, I guess it can heal the Gator, but, like, the Hevo is what's going to die. It's too late for that muffin. That muffin needed to come out last turn, so this past, or 2 turns ago, so this past turn it could heal the Hevo. Even then, I don't know if it would have stayed alive. Down goes Hevo 3.0. Down goes the sheep, and then it was just Gator and Muffin. Even get the heal to keep the Gator from dying, or, well, taking damage from the poison, not really dying. It wasn't ever going to die. Well played. Well played. Managing to beat the levels. Like we were talking about, levels definitely give you an advantage. It allows you to make more mistakes, but not an infinite amount of errors. You can't just infinitely blunder and expect to win. Not saying there was an infinite number of blunders, but definitely some overconfident plays, we'll say, especially towards the end of the game here. Muffin going down, the target of choice. Nothing the Gator can really do. Can't even take down its counterpart. I love some of the herd animations, like how Erratic has a skeleton visible, like some old cartoon. Yep. The art direction, I've talked about many times, the art direction from the Phobies team has been spectacular. It's actually incredible. They put a lot of effort and clearly a lot of love into all the different aspects of Phobies. And it shows. You can tell how much fun they had, how much enjoyment they get out of it. But well played, hero. GG. Alright, looking at another Strahd game here on Xylo. Rare Gargles and Firkin W. Alright, I mean, Firkin is not that rare, let's be real. Firkin does show up in a lot of games. Big She is notorious for dropping it on the board very early in the game because it does pressure your opponent into certain plays. And on this map in particular, Firkin can make some plays. I don't know about turn 1 Firkin, but Firkin is very relevant. It's a lob. It disables plenty of important abilities, namely like yoinks, which come up commonly on this map. All very relevant. And honestly, now in the position I'm in, where there are a growing number of players with access to Akira, getting a very early Firkin online might not be a bad idea. Now, I don't know if it's really going to make a difference, because an Akira that's tucked away all the way over here that I could never target can still yoink the whole board. What are you going to do? You got to play with the cards you're dealt. But in the meantime, Panic Point's tied up. Interestingly enough, our hero does not collect the Pocket Panic Point here. Pocket Panic Point. It's funny to say, the Pocket Panic Point. And we're getting matching Crushmores. This one's in a weird spot, bad guys, because normally you see it try and get into position to break the block where this Murder Wing is. The corresponding one on the side, Strahd, is blown up right meow. Thanks to the fact that this was basically, you can draw a straight line between these, it's not going to yoink it into the abyss, so that's something to keep in mind for anybody curious as to why that interaction worked that way. It didn't have a direction to pull it that would end up in the abyss. So we're getting the spider to begin the yoink wars, but our hero, of course, has an advantage in that they can Firkin this attractor. Now, that's not going to do a whole hell of a lot for a 3-ranger anyway, because the 3-ranger can just simply poke at you. Is Firkin the only 4-ranger? Because I don't remember how many of them there are. Technically, no. Burrow from Klopster gives you 4 movement, but that's not really what you're asking, I don't think. I think it's the only ability like this that is 4 range. So like I said, the Attractor can still do damage, but honestly, I would probably trade Spider for Attractor here. Maybe not, because bad guy has Spider also. You don't want to be down yoinks on this map if you can help it. Thanks to the earlier break, this AWOL actually is able to connect cleanly with that snowball, which is kind of hilarious. And we get a Chuck. All right, so you have to be a little careful here as Strahd, because while you were able to Firkin the Attractor, it's going to be back online soon. It doesn't turn it off that long. Little Chuck Norris action. He doesn't do push-ups, he pushes the world down. Circa Baron's Chat 2006. Whatever year Chuck Norris jokes were like the thing. So yeah, seriously, Chuck up here is actually not spectacular, because if you move it into either of these spots, it's going to get yoinked to death because there's 2 online. The cooldown for the Firkin is longer than the cooldown you put the Attractor on. Just the way it is. Getting an additional break here from the Crushmore. Heart completely exposed, and Stabby is the follow-up. I've been seeing Stabby show up with more regularity here, and I don't know about it. I'm still not a huge fan of Stabby on large maps, but there have been a number of players that have made successful runs with it. So, because bad guy moved the Spider out of position, this Chuck is safer because you can't double yoink to get the Chuck. And then the counter yoink from our hero Spider will cause issues. But we do, in fact, see the Gargles, the prophesied Gargles that was going to show up. And we get a foul. That was my answer for a long time to Chuck, is just foul it. Which sounds like something straight out of Mutant Football League, but... So we're getting the yoink here onto the Attractor. That's going to put it into foul range. Clearly the Spider's going to trade, but again, maybe that's a worthwhile trade like we were talking about earlier. We're probably going to get the Firkin power down onto the Spider. Yep. And we get the Gargles block here to prevent the foul from getting in. So the foul can't connect with the Chuck right now. Another thing about Phobies is how they have a mixture of media references and just original ideas, like how Glob is the blob, but ice cream is just kind of a funky ice cream machine. Yep. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, Cowbell is from SNL. There's a lot of them that show up throughout, and I do appreciate the humor that's in it. Like I said, the love that was put into Phobies is readily apparent. It is readily apparent. So Fish Tank is the final Phobie, or I think it was the final Phobie, definitely one of the final Phobies out of our hero. We actually get the Chuck advancing pretty aggressively here. Getting an appropriate block. This is ready, so like this can get cleared out. I don't know about this. So the foul can definitely connect to the Chuck, but Chuck will murder it. And the thing is that Chuck on the stim will be able to heal. Yeah, like Chuck can blow this up. Chuck can annihilate this. I don't think this dies. It might die, actually. It is dead. This isn't looking great for our hero. This is not looking fantastic. I mean, Fish Tank is going to make short... Well, maybe I was going to say he was going to make short work of the sheep, but seemingly not. So down goes our funky chicken. Now, like I said, the Chuck can heal through a lot of this. And the Gargles is back online. Getting the yoink here. There's going to be a lot of damage going on the Fish Tank. It may just be dead. That's a dead Fish Tank. Oof. 4 Phobies to 4 Phobies, though. And the Chuck is on the stim and well in range of everything. Just annihilating things here. Pick of the litter chooses to go after the stabby. And we get the Gargles connection to eliminate the sheep. Here's one of the cool things. Gargles is, in fact, dimensional. So that means that if this Gargles goes down, it's going to yoink whatever kills it into range. And there isn't enough damage to just go, oops, I killed it. The bad guy's full-on retreat, but at this stage, even with the diseased Chuck, it's taking 500 damage. It's going to die soon. But you can cap these panic points and put pressure on bad guy. Chuck ambling forward. Bad guy could choose to wait this out. I mean, they do have a 74-25 to 39-34 panic point, or hard health advantage, rather. And then just look for an opening to go in. But they're getting a little defensive here. I don't know that moving Chuck was worth it. It probably would have been better just to leave the Birkin where it was, because right now there's no way for... Wait. Hold on. This ability is live. You could put this here and block them out so that they can't recap these points. Maybe it's better to keep this live so it's able to move around the board. Yeah, because you're not necessarily going to kill this spider. Yeah, you're not going to kill the spider with just Firkin. Down goes Chuck. The disease does its job. You don't really have enough damage to go in on the spider, but you can power down like this. And this is very relevant because the spider has to vacate the stim back to a 4-1 panic point advantage, and all of a sudden, this gap got closed pretty quick. 4,500 to 3934. Oh, the spider goes for that. Presumably, bad guy thought that the poison wasn't worth it because of the heal, but the heal needed another turn to come back. I think it would have been worth it. And now you have the Gargles on the stim. It's not going to die from simply crush more attacks. I think bad guy had potential to still win this game. It would have been close because obviously we're talking a super scrappy game at this point, but definitely well played by Strahd here. Very well done. The Gargles Firkin team taking it down. GG. GG. Well played. Very well played. Master Dark, our hero, once again on the Once lore. A game with my best friend where I can play only dimensional. Uh-oh, showing off that you can win with, I guess, 3 hands tied behind your back, monster, undead, and mechanical specifically. Hey, Yondo, what's good? So we get a Squiggles Eternal Night opener. Of course, our hero in the blue trunks is playing only dimensional, so we'll see what happens here. Little droney opener action. Chat, I wonder if this map is okay when Attractor and Heartbreaker are not in the mix. Charon! Charon's so cool. I agree with people that wish Charon was better. It's one of the few phobies that I'm like, yeah, you should buff this thing. It is too cool to not see more play, right? It deserves to see more play. What's going on? Well, our hero here is only allowed to spawn dimensional phobies. I don't know why they did this challenge, but this is what they're doing. Yeah, I have to wonder about this map. I also wonder why that snowball didn't just take the middle. I guess they know what's available from their opponent, and, like, it could have died, I guess. I don't know. But I have to wonder if the once lore and some of these other maps would be better if certain phobies just didn't exist. We get 2 Edgar Allan games tonight, chat. I'm gonna have to put Ogre as the thumbnail, but, like, we got 2 Edgar Allan games tonight. The big boss man taking the center stage, following it up with some Motherload. And I really messed up my shoulder, chat. Like, I'm sitting weird because I'm trying to, like, find a position that's comfortable. I really messed up my shoulder. I don't know what I did. I also love how Fowl's name could be a double meaning because Fowl is a turkey, but Fowl refers to something gross expired. I honestly wish some other phobies had names that creative. Some of that, like, many of them do have, maybe not multiple meanings, but they do have relevance to different things. Or the combination of their abilities plus their name, like boss and you're fired. Okay, like, you get it. It's difficult to have 100% of them hit 100% of the time, but I think the Phobies team overall has done a spectacular job. I don't think anybody can look at Phobies and go, no, there's not enough creativity in this game. From the design perspective, or from the play perspective for that matter. Like, I don't think anybody can say that and not be lying. So we are maxed out on forces from our hero bad guy. Still 17 keys remaining, and our hero set up a very potentially powerful you're fired scenario, but we're not going to see it. This is going to be a ton of... Like, I think this might be a dead boss. You can get Fireballs, Gargle, Eternal Night, Crushmore, and Charon. I'm not going to lie, this almost feels like a contrived scenario. This feels like it was concocted. I know our hero was limited to dimensional phobies, but, like, that boss sat there for 5 turns. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but still, like, come on. Edgar Allan does actually get to take something down significant. Oh, looks like they set everything to level 1. It's a 100 damage buff, which is significant when you have, like, 5 phobies hitting. That is better than a Gonzo or a Scritch. If opponent had Russell, this would be very different. Yes and no. There is a healing spa, but yeah, the game... That's awkward because you turned off the healing spa with the Charon. I do love this block down here, though. This is adorable. Look at this. They're literally locked in here. They're completely isolated. There's nothing they can do. Bad guy banking up to 14, finally burning a little bit of that bank. I mean, I guess the thing they can do is just go kill the phobies, but... Get the break here to open everything up. It's a good heads-up play by Master Dark, because then you get access to all of these phobies down here. At least a better angle to have access, anyway. Although you're not really protecting that crush more. I don't think it would be a good idea to go in. So I guess you are protecting it, but a little weird. Hevo and Motherlode happen to hang on for a little bit longer here. Panic point advantage, bad guy. But not enormously so. We're not looking at a ton of damage. There's still plenty of time for more Phobies to die, basically. Specifically, this is a Motherlode that is going to the other side. Game over for Motherlode here. Cyclops coming out. Chat, out of the nerfs we've had, I know there was Beauty. People call for nerfs on Boss and Gonzo, but, like, what other nerfs have we had? Because, like, are Dimensionals the most commonly frustrating Phobies? Because I'm wondering if there is a challenge or more of a challenge in trying to balance Dimensionals because of their death damage. You get a second, whatever the not cause is called. Bird Bath. We get a second Bird Bath this game. I never really know what Squiggle's supposed to be. I think it's just supposed to be generic, weird-looking alien. I feel like there must have been a Twilight Zone or, like, old horror movie where the aliens were basically inside out. Which is pretty much what Squiggles is, I think. But I'm not sure. This one just felt like bad guy was never in the game, but at the same time, I know that there was a weird rule in place for Master Dark, being able to only use Dimensionals, but it did somewhat feel like this was manufactured, because like I said, that the boss sat there forever. We also get 1,000 damage hit going down because of the Squiggles. Lol. And Edgar Allan wants a piece. Edgar Allan wants some of this hot and heavy action. Squiggles is cholesterol. That is, in fact, an interpretation. Bad guy, 6 keys remaining. Can't even finish off the Squiggles, although at this point, I think they're just demoralized. Gives you a heart attack. I mean, that's reasonable. Like, let's take a look at where's Squiggles. I thought it was dead. It's the physical manifestation. Well, I guess cholesterol. Does that count as physical? I mean, High Five also has heart attack, but I like the idea that Squiggles is cholesterol. Edgar Allan putting in work. Charon putting in work. I think the weirdest thing is when it does its weird bubblegum attack, like the shape that its head makes. Because it has a vaguely human-looking skull, right? Like, somewhat humanoid. And then it turns into, like, more canine-looking to me. Like, an elongated face. Last replay of the night? Yes, we'll be calling it after this. There's actually none in the hopper at the moment. None on deck after this. So, maybe we'll have a shorter one next week. Is next week the end of the season? If it is, I mean, I got to do a pack opening at some point. Down goes Zamboni. GG. GG. Well played. But chat, we managed to get through all of those games and definitely had some fun moments throughout. Those are some really cool games. Saw some Phobies that we don't typically see, like Edgar Allan. We saw Ogre showcase a lot of cool stuff. Definitely fun. But that's going to do it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm not sure what we're going to be playing. I put up a poll in Discord. If you, yeah, now's the time to be first on the list if you want to do it. If you're interested in helping shape what I'm going to play tomorrow, then go ahead and vote. Or if you want to throw a different game, there's a couple other things I was looking at, but I'm trying not to spend money at the moment. It's like real life finances thing. I'm trying not to buy every game that looks cool, sort of thing. And by trying, I mean I'm not. But there might be some new games that I pick up. Right now, we're probably looking at one of the several card games, especially since they're free to play. But we'll play it by ear. So let me know in Discord if you want to see something particular, either tomorrow or in general. That being said, we're going to close up shop. So for now, everybody, as always, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and Black Lives Matter.